Okay, I'm called to order the Board of Adjustments meeting for January 7th, 2021. Welcome, everybody. Justin, if you can hear me, if you could take a roll call for us.
Yes, sir. Wendell Miller will be absent. Scott Sanders. Scott Sanders. Catherine here. Choate.
I'm here.
Jackamore.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Vice Chair.
All right, thank you so much. We'll move on to item number 3. We're going to postpone the election of officers till February due to new members aren't in attendance. Sarah, do we need a motion to postpone that, or?
We do probably need a motion to postpone that. Scott Sanders is actually online. I just got a message, but he can't hear anything.
Okay.
We moving on to item 3. Jackamore.
Yes, I just need to have a motion to postpone the election of officers to February.
Okay. Catherine, motion to postpone to February meeting.
Do I have a second?
This is John. I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to postpone the election of officers to February. Justin, just go ahead and give us a roll call on that.
Okay. Jackamore.
Yes.
Choate.
Yes.
Choate.
Yes.
Catherine. Yes. Sanders. I'm going to go ahead and keep him absent, Sarah, until he's actually on.
Okay.
Motion passes.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, approving the minutes for Board of Adjustments on December 28th. If anyone doesn't have any comments or questions about it, just need a motion to accept.
Catherine, motion to approve the minutes for the December 2020.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the minutes for December 28th, 2020. Do I have a second?
This is John. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Motion passes. Go ahead and give us a roll call, please.
Okay. Jackamore.
Yes.
Choate.
Yes.
Catherine. Yes. Sanders. Okay. Good to go there, Don.
Okay, it passes. So we'll move on to the new items. Variance from Article 3.6 allowing a 2-foot setback for a fence located along South Detroit Avenue at Oakland Cemetery, submitted by Stephanie Warwick on behalf of the city of Russellville. We have a staff report on that.
Yes. So like Vice Chairman said, this is an application to allow a 2-foot setback for a fence located along South Detroit Avenue at Oakland Cemetery. This is located in the Oakland neighborhood. It is an existing cemetery. It's an R2 zoned property surrounded by a variety of residential uses, including single-family homes, duplexes, and a child care facility. Oakland Cemetery is needing to complete their fence project to protect heads and gravestones after multiple motor vehicle accidents have disrupted the site. To fully protect the graves, the fence must be the requested 2 feet from the road instead of the 10-foot requirement that is laid out in the Russellville zoning code. In Article 9.3.2, the Board of Adjustment has been given specific guidelines in order to grant a variance. First being that the applicant demonstrates that special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved and which are not applicable to other lands. Staff has found that this applicant has demonstrated that special conditions exist because in order to build the fence 10 feet from the roadway and still serve its purpose of protecting the graves, 96 graves would have to be moved and relocated, and it is not the intent of the zoning code to require a cemetery to exhume 96 graves in order to protect them. The second guideline is no other non-conforming uses in the area shall be considered as grounds for granting a variance, and no other non-conforming uses were considered as grounds for granting this variance. Third, the application demonstrates reasons that justify a variance, and the variance is the minimum to make reasonable use of the land. Staff has found that the granting of this variance is the minimum variance allowing reasonable use of the land. 4, the granting of this variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning code. The granting of this variance is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the zoning code. 5th, the Board of Adjustment may prescribe appropriate conditions and safeguards. There are no additional safeguards required. And 6th, the Board of Adjustment may not grant a variance to allow a use not permissible in the Russellville zoning code. The proposed use is in conformance with the table of permitted uses. With all that being said, staff does recommend approval of this application as a result of the findings that 1, to serve its purpose, the fence must be in its proposed location. 2, it is not the intent of the zoning code to require a cemetery to exhume graves in order to protect them. And 3rd and last, the applicant has met all other variance requirements. And that is my staff report.
All right, thank you. Is Ms. Warwick on if she would like to comment?
I'm here. I don't know that I really need to add additional comments to this unless you have specific questions.
Okay, does any of the commissioners have any questions or comments?
I have a question, Mr. Vice Chair. This is Cochran. Just curious, is it going to be like a black metal fence? Or, I mean, I could see where it's a problem, and it has been for years. Completely agree with getting it as close to the road to protect things. I was just curious what the fence would be.
The fence would be similar in design to what's currently existing, with the exception, and if you'll forgive me, I'm not familiar enough with the terms. We would have a boxed in top rails instead of spikes, for safety reasons, of course. I provided some imagery of samples. They should have been in the paperwork for you.
Yes, they are included in the file, the Google Drive file.
Okay.
Okay, it's just like a wrought iron fence is what it
Well,
is. It's a see-through fence.
That,
Be blocking the view.
I don't know if you can see these. Something similar to this.
I pulled it up, Mr. Vice Chair. Yeah, I was just curious, making
Okay.
sure, because the corners are tight right there by that
Right.
babysitter place to begin with, the daycare. So, Cochran will make a motion to approve as presented by staff.
All right, we have a motion to approve as presented. I need a second.
This is John, I would second it.
We have a motion and a second. Justin, can you give me a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Jackamore,
Yes.
Choate,
Yes.
Cochran, yes. Sanders,
Yes.
All right. Motion carries. All right,
Thank-
we'll move on to item number B, variance from Article 12, allowing a front yard setback of 19 feet despite the 25-foot requirement located at 2011 East Parkway Drive, submitted by Max Lawton. This item was tabled September, October, November, and December meetings. Max, are you on the call?
I am, sir.
All right. Can we have a staff report on that, please?
Yes, sir. So this application is to allow a variance from the front yard setback requirements for a food truck and carport. This is located in the East Main Commercial District. It is an existing food truck located next to an existing mattress store. It is a C2 zone property surrounded by other commercially zoned properties, including a variety of uses such as a salon and spa, restaurant, and a strip mall. Staff was working on a building permit for the applicant, and it was discovered that the food truck and the carport did not meet the front yard setback requirements. In Article 9.3.2, the Board of Adjustment has been given specific guidelines in order to grant this variance. Staff has found that the applicant has not demonstrated that special conditions exist, which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other lands. 2, no other non-conforming uses in the area were considered as grounds when looking at this variance. 3, the granting of this variance is not the minimum variance allowing reasonable use of the land, as the primary structure on the parcel meets the setback requirements. Therefore, the accessory building and food truck would be able to be relocated to meet those area requirements as well. 4, the granting of this variance is not in harmony with the purpose and intent of the zoning code, as this is a main commercial corridor and should be maintained in a way that aligns with the zoning code. 5th, there are no additional safeguards. And 6th, the proposed use is in conformance with the table of permitted uses. So it is staff's recommendation that the Board of Adjustment deny this variance request based on the findings that 1, no special conditions were found by staff. 2, there is ample room on this property for the structure to meet the setbacks and still be visible from the right-of-way. 3, the granting of this variance is not the minimum variance allowing reasonable use of the land. 4th, the granting of this variance is not in harmony with the purpose and intent of the zoning code. And that is my staff report.
Thank you so much. Max, you want to add to this?
Well, during the preliminary meetings when we had just a talk of what was going to be talked about, one of my contentions was, is moving the structure back 6 feet going to solve all my problems? And that was never presented to me. I had no intention to do something that wasn't going to be allowed in the first place. I've seen this same type structure used all over town in the same zoning codes that I have. I have several examples that, if you'll give me just a second, I will show you. Hang on one second. All right, I'm not sure. So only the host gets to share now. So I've got a picture format that I was going to show everybody, but it says only the host is allowed to show. So Sarah is the only one allowed to introduce other documents. Is that correct?
That should not be. Let me take a look at that, Max, and see if I can resolve that.
Okay. Anyway, Don.
Okay.
Other people are doing this all over town. I own the property. I in no way would do anything to take away from the value of my property. I don't think it looks any different than anybody else. We have, just down the street, we've got a guy that's working on boats, and I'm not complaining about him. He's trying to make a living. He's got 100 old dilapidated boats less than a half a mile from me. I don't think what I'm doing takes away from the Parkway Avenue any more than what he's doing. I also would love to know if there's any documented complaints about my structure. And if there are, I want to hear them. If I'm doing something that has affected somebody else's business, I want to know. And I will do everything I can to fix that.
Okay. Sir, do you have any complaints?
No, sir, I do not believe I am aware of any complaints from citizens in the community. I was going to say, Max, you should be able to share from your screen. I apologize that you were not able to do that earlier.
This is exactly why I wanted to do it live. I have put this off to have a live meeting, and I was told that I had to do it virtually this time, and this is exactly why I didn't want to do it virtually.
Okay.
I had a presentation ready, and if I practiced with this, if it'll allow me to screen share, I will give you multiple examples of things that are much worse than what I'm doing, that nothing has been done about it. I don't want any preferential treatment, but I don't want to be singled out either.
I understand that. While we're waiting for him to screen share, commissioners, y'all have any questions or comments? On this, one question that I have.
Let me do it now, Don.
Okay, good deal.
Okay, so here, this is 1419 East Main. This is Dan's Farmers Market. I shop there. I love it. The question is that exactly what I'm doing, or is that worse than what I'm doing? Y'all make up your own minds. Here's right next to that. This is directly across from the Old South on Highway 64. This is on the corner of Knoxville and 4th Street. This is in front of Sears. That's exactly what I have. This is the worst. This is the worst one. This is in front of Kroger on West Main. I didn't notice something until I pulled it. Look right here. That's possibly 220 with wire nuts on it. I didn't even notice that until I took the picture. Okay, this is on Highway 7 North. That's exactly what I'm doing. This is right next to Price Milling. I mean, y'all are gonna have to make up your own minds. Okay, here's another example, and I'd love to know if they bought a building permit and if they applied for a variance. This is City Corp's new facility, and their fence is touching the sidewalk. If they can do this, does that mean I can build a chain link fence in front of my awning and food truck and it be good enough? I mean, and I'm not trying to be rude or obnoxious or anything about this, but I don't feel like I'm doing anything that isn't being done all over town, and I was singled out for it. Here's my structure right here. Here's the boat yard. Here's in front of Lowe's. This is UPS. I'm just going to let the pictures speak for themselves. I don't feel like what I've done looks near as bad as this. This is directly across from Lowe's. And that's pretty much my presentation. If I need to do something different, I'm more than willing to do it. I'm willing to back it up 6 feet. I'm 19 feet from my property line. I own that property. I mean, most of the people that have food trucks do not own their own property. They're renting a facility. There are other examples. Ridgewood Barbecue, I don't want them to change what they're doing, but they basically built a lean-to around their smoker out there on West Main. And nothing obviously has been said, or they'd be here with me.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I'll open the floor up for discussion. If anyone else has any comments or questions for you. One question I have, is this a setback issue or the cover issue, the awning that's over it?
The current application that we're hearing right now is a variance for the setback issue. The commercial building design waiver will be heard in the planning commission meeting. So this one
Okay.
is strictly just about the front yard setback.
Okay. Well, if no one has any questions, we'll just need a motion for the variance.
This is John. Sorry. I don't have any, I think that on the setback issue, Max said it was no problem to move it back 6 feet and, everything, leave everything the same. So if that's the case, if he's willing to move it back 6 feet, I think we should, this whole issue goes away.
Okay. I'll need some type of motion. Sarah, you might want to help me out here, or Victoria. So, I mean, I'm not sure how to proceed. If Mr. Lawton's agreed to pull it back 6 foot to get 25 foot.
If he agrees to move back 6 feet, no action's required.
He can withdraw the application and move the structure back 6 feet to avoid the variance. Then,
Okay.
and if that's his choice to move the structure back 6 feet to avoid the variance, then he can withdraw the application at this point. Otherwise, we do need a.
Can I say something one more time, please?
Yes.
Okay. Had that been, when the gentleman from the zoning guy came over, he said, you need to go buy a building permit for this. And I said, well, it's a temporary structure. He said, we're not treating them like that anymore. I drove down immediately to attempt to buy a building permit. They then told me I could not buy a building permit because they were not going to allow that structure. And I said, I'll apply for a variance. Okay. I'm $350, $400 into just getting to this meeting, paying fees, renting the little sign, running ads in the paper. I think the planning commission, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but if somebody had just said early on in this deal, scoot that back 6 feet and we can avoid all this, which is what I've tried to do, then we wouldn't have got to here in the first place. And I've spent $350 or $400 just to have this meeting over 6 feet.
Just to make a clarification, the variance is separate from the other two applications. So even if Mr. Lawton agrees to move it back the 6 feet, the commercial building design waiver will still be needed, as well as, I forget, Sarah, you deal with the planning commission files. He has two applications being heard before planning commission this evening. Those two still stand, whether he moves it back, whatever you do with the variance, the other two applications still have to be heard. they're separate issues.
Yes, I understand that. We just need to get this one taken care of on the Board of Adjustments. So if he wants to pull his application for this setback and just pull it back 6 more feet, then that would do away with this Board of Adjustments.
With the variance, yes, sir.
With the variance only, yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the planning commission is totally separate. So if, Mr. Lott, if you want to.
I would be glad to do, I would be glad to do that. I've offered to do that from the very beginning.
Okay. All right, so you're pulling your application then, right? Correct? Just for the record?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Is that all we need on that, Sarah and Victoria?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll move on to C, variance from Article 3.61, allowing a 14-foot fence despite the 6-foot height limit location at 1102 Mackenzie Drive, submitted by Mr. Fuentes. Do we have a staff report on that?
Yes, sir. So this is an application to allow a 14-foot fence where the height limit is 6 feet, located at 1102 Mackenzie Drive. This is located in the Marina Heights district. It is an existing single-family home. It is an R1 zone property surrounded by other single-family homes. Just a general comment here at the beginning. In reviewing this application, it was discovered that there is a 50-foot easement that runs along the side portion of this property where the proposed fence is to be built. And according to the recorded plat for this subdivision, the easement must be free and clear of all encumbrances. And according to the bill of assurance for this subdivision, Heartland Phase 2, no improvements, trees, fences, or other hindrances shall be placed upon easement areas that will interfere with the operation and maintenance of such utility services. And with that said, in Article 9.3.2, the Board of Adjustment has been given specific guidelines in order to grant a variance. First being, staff has found that the applicant has not demonstrated that special conditions exist. No conditions were demonstrated that were peculiar to the land structure or structure involved, and which are not applicable to other lands. 2, no other non-conforming uses in the area were considered as grounds for granting this variance. 3, the granting of this variance is not the minimum variance allowing reasonable use of the land. 4th, the granting of this variance is not in harmony with the purpose and intent of the zoning code. 5th, there are no additional safeguards. And 6th, the proposed use is in conformance with the table of permitted uses. So with all that said, staff does recommend denial of this application as a result of the findings that 1, no special conditions were demonstrated. 2, there is a 50-foot easement, which according to the recorded plat and bill of assurance for the subdivisions shall not be built in. 3, the granting of this variance is not the minimum variance allowing reasonable use of the land. And 4th, the granting of this variance is not in harmony with the purpose and intent of the zoning code. And that is my staff report.
Thank you. Is Mr. Fuentes on the call?
Mr. Jackamore, there is a phone number. I'm unsure. It's 970-7571. Shows to be muted. I'm not sure if that is Mr. Fuentes.
That's not Sarah, that's John's.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay. Commissioner, y'all have any comments for the audience here?
Mr. Jackmore?
Is it
Yes.
already up?
I don't know. Victoria, is it? Or
What was
Sarah?
the question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Is the fence already up?
And there are posts currently up.
Okay.
Mr. Jackmore?
Yes.
This is Mayor Richard Harris. I actually live in the neighborhood, and I'm familiar with the project. And I'll be honest with you, I don't see any problems with this project at all. I will say that with the exception that the property is within the 50-foot easement of the power line, and I can't address that. If they violated that, I can't address that. But as far as the fencing for their basketball goal, I don't have any issues at all with that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does anybody got any other questions? And this fence is strictly for the basketball court, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if there's no any other questions, I'll need a motion on the floor.
Don, this is John. I think we need to verify the utility encumbrances. If that fence is on top of a water line or the electric and all that, it could cost the city quite a bit of money in the future. We really need to clarify that if it's got any encumbrances there before we can allow that.
John, that's a great question. This is Sarah John Dahl. The utility easement is for an overhead transmission utility line.
Okay, so that wouldn't be, the ground wouldn't be an issue then if it's a utility easement.
Correct, sir. It's an overhead transmission line for Entergy.
Okay, I need a motion.
This is
Okay.
John. If mayor's okay with it, I'd say we grant him his fence.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to approve the variance, allowing a 14-foot fence despite the 6-foot height limit. Is that correct as far as the motion goes? If so, I will need
Yes.
a second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Scott Sanders seconded it, and all right, let's move to roll call. Justin, you on?
Jackamore?
Yes.
Jackamore?
Yes.
Choate?
Yes.
Cothran? Yes. Sanders?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. That's all on the agenda. And if no one has any other comments or questions, we'll call this meeting adjourned.